Hello everyone, welcome to Play, Pause, Repeat, the podcast where we talk about all things in entertainment, sports, and pop culture. I'm your host, Brayden Shea, as always. And today's episode is another one of Sportstalk for the month of August. As in today's episode, I recap what happened in the MLB, Major League Baseball, and the National Football League, NFL, for the past couple of months this summer. First off, in the MLB, the trade deadline has happened. Tarik Skubal, the ace pitcher for the Tigers, got traded to the Dodgers for some prospects, so that's a huge deal. Other huge deals across MLB happened also. Adley Rutschman to the Red Sox. The entire playoff race is coming down to a cruise. Everybody's getting excited for the postseason to come. October baseball, here we come. Then the NFL, Myles Garrett was traded this summer to the Rams, the number one contenders with Matthew Stafford and a rating NFL decoy on their team now. Trent McDuffie also traded from the Chiefs to the Rams, a super team, highest odds of any team by a lot too. Other teams contending for the Super Bowl as well in the NFL, and it'll come down and start in September. But as always, make sure to follow Play, Pause, Repeat on Apple Podcasts, Instagram, Spotify, and YouTube, and thank you for coming to today's episode. So for the first segment of this sports talk is the MLB and the Tradeline Drama. So Tarik Skubal, the Detroit Tigers ace, recently traded to the Los Angeles Dodgers for basically a bag of chips. Just some prospects, the highest being of the Dodgers, being the outfielder of Zaire Hope, who's ranked 25th, and is actually, though, the 5th ranked prospect for the Dodgers. So basically, entirely a bag of chips for probably the best pitcher in all of baseball, the back-to-back AL Cy Young winner in Tarik Skubal. Forms one of the best 2-1 punches in pitching right now for the MLB. Tarik Skubal, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, overall best. Elite Dodgers rotation now. The super team of the Dodgers, back-to-back World Series champions. They are definitely the most hated team in the league right now. No one likes them. Too powerful. Tarik Skubal joins the definitely lineup. Yamamoto, Shohei Ohtani, the best player in all of baseball right now. Blake Snell, Tyler Glasnow, elite bullpen. Vesia, Emma Sheehan, Tanner Scott, the best team in all of MLB right now. Not even mentioning the entire lineup for the batters. Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani, the best three-person triple threat of all time. Well, at least right now in the current MLB. Probably not all the time, though. But Kyle Tucker, the guy they added, and with Andre Pages playing as good as he is right now, this is really going to be hand the trophy ready to them right now for the Dodgers. And people have been saying, will the Dodgers ruin baseball? Will it make a lockout if they three-peat, become the first team since the 2000 Yankees to three-peat, 3 championships in a row? It's the case, though, because the owners of the MLB teams want money, and people have been saying the Dodgers are ruining baseball. Other people are saying the Dodgers are not ruining baseball. The other team's owners are ruining baseball because they refuse to pay big bucks to people like Shohei Ohtani, Tarik Skubal, or anybody basically in MLB that the Dodgers are paying already. So, yeah, I think because the Dodgers are spending more money to pay better players, they deserve to win more because that's how the game works now without a salary cap. If they do impose a salary cap next year, the Dodgers are not going to suck though. They still have all the good players. Remember, Shohei Ohtani has a massive influence in Japan. Had he not signed with the Dodgers, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Roki Sasaki, they wouldn't have signed with the Dodgers either. It's because of Shohei, not because of the Dodgers' money, that they signed with the Dodgers. It just happens because they also got a lot of money from the Dodgers instead of other teams, why Yamamoto and Roki Sasaki signed with the Dodgers. That's not the case. Even if there's a salary cap for next season and the seasons to come later, the Dodgers are not going to fall behind. Everyone else is going to fall behind because they don't have the influence of the Dodgers. Big market, LA, Hollywood, the Japanese fan base, the Mexico fan base, Latin America, everyone knows the Dodgers. They're probably the second most famous team behind the Yankees. And without a doubt, even if there's a salary cap, they're not going to fall behind. So that's the case for the Dodgers. Moving on to the NL teams. The biggest losers of this trade deadline, probably the Brewers, I can say the least. They're tied, actually ahead of the Dodgers right now, considering the Dodgers have been on a slump recently now. But the Brewers lost out on Jacob Misiorowski, Tarik Skubal, def lineup, def rotation, lefty-righty. That would have been even more deadly than Yamamoto, Skubal. Saying that feels very interesting because I don't think anybody expected Jacob Mizraowski to make the big leap he did this year. But in that case, they're battling out for the NL top seed. I think the Brewers can actually still win this top seed, though. It's going to be bad in the playoffs, though. May get swept, may not get swept. But the Dodgers are definitely going to cruise to the Brewers in the NLCS, if that does happen, though. The other team from the NL that lost on this big trade was the Atlanta Braves. They were in the talks for Tarik Skubal. Didn't work for them. Now they fall behind the Dodgers and Brewers. They can still get that one seed in the NL, though. The loaded NL. Top three teams separating themselves. Atlanta possibly get a rematch again from the Dodgers in 2021, 2020. Yeah. But let's talk about the playoff race as of today, which I'm recording this Wednesday, August 5th. It may be a different day for you guys when you start listening to this episode. But in first place are the Milwaukee Brewers, 70 wins, 43 losses. If they were to advance, well, they get a bye anyway, so they're going to advance anyway. So the 4th seed in the NL right now is the Chicago Cubs, 65 and 49. They did get Kevin Gausman, the Blue Jays pitcher. They also got Clay Holmes from the Mets, 2 elite pitchers added to the death lineup with Shota Amanaga. So the Cubs can look very scary next year, or this year in the postseason. They're face off against the Phillies right now. The postseason started now. 61 wins, 53 losses for the Phillies. With their loaded team, the Phillies, absolute contenders for the NL. The 3 seed, the Atlanta Braves, 68 wins, 45 losses. I just talked about them. The Arizona Diamondbacks maybe can make a run like they did a couple of years ago in 2023. 60 wins, 44 losses. Yeah, the entire NL is so much more better than the AL. Like, all these teams have winning records. And then you have the Dodgers, 69 wins, 45 losses. No need to talk about them. And for the predictions, if they did start in the NL postseason right now, I have Chicago over Philadelphia, Atlanta over Arizona, Milwaukee, Chicago in the divisional round, Milwaukee advance in about 5 to 4 games, I think so. Atlanta, LA, I think this one's actually going to go down 5 games probably. May go down 4, but it's going to be a hard test for the Dodgers. They're still going to win, though. And then Brewers, Dodgers in the NLCS, a rematch from last year. Dodgers in 4 or 5 games. Too easy. The best team right now. Probably the best team they ever had in the last maybe 20 years, I guess. Been a long time, yeah, definitely. Maybe in forever, maybe. But, yeah, the Dodgers, NL champions. Not a doubt. They're literally at minus 110 to win the NLCS. Not to win the World Series, to win the NLCS. Well, I should not say that, actually, because it's 160 plus 160 to win the World Series, which is barely anything. To win the championship, to let alone the highest thing they can win in MLB right now, for a team that's not even the best team in their league right now. The Dodgers. That's how impressive they are. Moving over to the AL, the Boston Red Sox have been on a hot streak right now. They just swept the Dodgers in 3 games to nothing fashion just a couple days ago. Very hot streak for them. Very good right now. Looking very good. They can climb the postseason rankings. They're now actually vying for that first place spot in the AL East and the AL right now. Right now, first place does belong to the Tampa Bay Rays, 67 wins, 46 losses. Falling behind them are the Yankees and the Red Sox. The Yankees actually had the second best odds to win the World Series at plus 600. Maybe get a rematch from 2024 against the Dodgers, but we have to wait and see. The Red Sox did just get catcher from the Orioles, Adley Rutschman. A very interesting trade considering they gave up a lot of their prospects for that. 3 of their top 5 prospects for Adley Rutschman, who I think is still injury prone right now. But just 3 games really separating themselves from the rest of the AL. Those 3 teams, Boston, New York, the Yankees, and Tampa Bay. So the 4v5 matchup happens to be Boston, New York. 64 wins for the Yankees and 50 losses for them. 61 wins, 51 losses for the Boston Red Sox. They'll face off in a rematch of last year's wild card if everything happens to go smoothly now. The Houston Astros, number 3 seed, 59 wins, 56 losses. Cleveland Guardians, 57 wins, 57 losses. Like I said from last time, the NL is a lot better than AL. 57 losses is exactly even for the Guardians. And the 2 seed, surprisingly, the Chicago White Sox of all teams, 59 wins, 53 losses. Not too long ago, this 2 seasons ago, they were the worst team in all baseball. Barely won any games, 40 wins, something like that. But now, they're actually one of the best teams now. Do I think they're going to win the World Series? No. Do I think they can make the World Series an appearance and win the ALCS? There's a possibility. But the sky's the limit now. that the White Sox are cruising now into the spotlight. An absolute stinker from the Blue Jays from last year. Last year, they were just like a couple inches away from the World Series. And now, it's been all blown up now. They lost Bo Bichette this offseason. Now, they are vying for the last wildcard spot, which Cleveland has. They have a losing record now. They're 3 games behind Cleveland for that last wildcard spot. And if the Blue Jays can somehow pull off a miracle, they will make the postseason. If not, they have to rebound from a disappointing season. So, in terms of my predictions for this MLB AL side of the bracket, New York, Boston. Give me New York. They're the second best odds to win the World Series. So, yeah, New York. Houston, Cleveland. I want Houston to win this one. But I think maybe Cleveland's going to win this one. I don't know. I think it's going to be a toss-up, but I actually do think the White Sox are going to win whoever wins that series between Houston and Cleveland. So, Chicago to the ALCS. Then Tampa versus New York. I think that whoever wins this, let alone Tampa, New York, Boston, whoever one comes out of that divisional side is going to win the ALCS, win the AL, represent them in the World Series. I think New York's going to pull away with this one. I can also see Tampa Bay winning this one, but I give the edge to New York. New York, Chicago, White Sox, Yankees over White Sox. Yankees, Dodgers rematch from 2 years ago. Dodgers, maybe sweep, maybe 4-0. Maybe give one to the Dodgers, give one to the Yankees 4-1. But Dodgers get 3 championships in a row. Yeah, too easy for them. Well, that's it for this session on MLB. Tune into the next session about the NFL. So the second half of today's episode of Sports Talk, we're talking about the NFL, the National Football League, as they enter the preseason. Tomorrow, Thursday, August 6th, will be the Hall of Fame game between the Panthers and Cardinals. That's technically the kickoff of the preseason. Then we got the preseason next Thursday, kicking off for 3 weeks. Then finally, NFL action Wednesday, September 9th in Seattle, with the Seahawks and Patriots facing off, followed by the Rams-49ers game in Melbourne, then the following day on Thursday, August 10th. On Thursday, September 10th. In that case, let's talk about the Rams, though. They probably have the best offseason, maybe in history, and they've been the most talked about team in the league so far. First of all, they did trade for Myles Garrett in exchange for Jared Verse from the Cleveland Browns, the reigning deep boy, one of the best edge rushers of all time, one of the best defensive players of all time. But you can't really think about Trent McDuffie, though. They also traded for him from the Chiefs. That's been under the radar a lot now. Nobody has talked about it in the last, since Myles Garrett's been traded. That top cornerback, he's really good. 2-time Super Bowl champion Trent McDuffie, paired up with Cameron Curl, the entire Myles Garrett, good defense now. You also have reigning NFL MVP Matthew Stafford, along with Puka Nacua, probably a top 3 wide receiver in the game right now. Devontae Adams still hitting in his prime right now, technically exiting his prime now, but he's still pretty good. Kyron Williams, Tyler Higbee, the entire tight end room is so good. Yeah, and to talk about Aaron Donald coming back from retirement to play on the edge rushing line alongside Myles Garrett, probably that'd be the most fearsome, greatest defensive duo of all time, if that happens the case. I don't think it's not going to happen now because it's been too deep in the offseason. Myles Garrett's been signed to the Rams for far too long for Aaron Donald to come out of retirement. Although the Rams are still the favorites to win the Super Bowl, though, they actually have a plus 550 to win the Super Bowl and a plus 295 to win the NFC title. The Super Bowl also happens to be in LA this time, their home stadium, which was the last time they won the Super Bowl in Super Bowl 56 against the Bengals at SoFi Stadium. So if it's Deja Vu, LA wins the Super Bowl in their own stadium with Matthew Stafford. That would be second Super Bowl, though, too. So the Seahawks, the defending champions, they are open the season against the Patriots on Wednesday, August 9th. Wednesday, September 9th, not August. And they're actually kind of screwed now. They lost Kenneth Walker III, their Super Bowl MVP, to the Kansas City Chiefs. Very unfortunate for them. They still have Sam Darnold, who had a surprise, of course, the last 2 seasons with the Minnesota and Seattle. He's now a Super Bowl champion, the first of his kind from the University of Southern California as a quarterback. They also have Jackson Smith and Jigba, the reigning Offensive Player of the Year. Probably the top 2 wide receiver, maybe alongside Jamar Chase and Puka Nacua. Yeah, but Jadarian Price, the new running back prospect from Notre Dame fills in the void. Zach Charbonnet, a good defense, the Doomsday, Dark Side defense. You got all those players like there's too many to name actually. Tarik Woolen, yeah, Nick Imanwori, Kobe Thomas, and then 49ers, San Francisco. They're also contenders for this NFC West crown. They're just quietly falling behind both Seattle and LA Rams. San Fran can still win this. They have Mike Evans and Deebo Samuel signed as wide receiver prospects for Brock Purdy to throw to. It's crazy how you think that Mike Evans is not even the second or first best wide receiver in his division. JSN, Puka Nacua, maybe even Devontae Adams eclipsed him. But in that case, I forgot about Cooper Kupp as well. But Mike Evans, though, still a good signing for the 49ers. And also Deebo Samuel coming back to San Francisco after a departure to Washington. So now that NFC West is probably the most loaded division in all of football, like it was last year. They had 3 teams finish with 12 or more wins. The 49ers were 12-5, Rams 12-5, and the Seahawks 14-3, Super Bowl champions. And if it happens again, they might have 2 teams face off in the NFC title game again. That could happen again, and have another team in the Super Bowl. Now let's talk about the other divisions in the NFC. First off, the NFC North, probably the second best division in all of football right now. The Packers, the Lions, the Bears. Vikings are not doing that bad. Kyler Murray, quarterback. 9, J.J. McCarthy, probably going to bench this year. Maybe it's going to be a rebound in future, but Kyler Murray's just starting quarterback. 1. Minnesota's not that bad, actually, though. Think about it. It's just that here we have Jordan Love, the promise, prophecy, and prophet of the Green Bay Packers. He's supposed to take over Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre's legacy, get 1 Super Bowl appearance at least, win 1 Super Bowl. It has to come soon. This is like when the age when both Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre did it, so why can't Jordan Love do it this year? Maybe Jordan Love can take that next step up to supreme level and carry the Packers to a Super Bowl, their 5th title in franchise history. The Lions, Detroit, look to bounce back after an offseason from last year. Jared Goff, Jahmyr Gibbs. Gibbs probably one of the best running backs in the league right now. Amon-Ra, another top receiver in the league. Aiden Hutchinson, one of the best defensive players right now. They have been disappointing. They're supposed to make the playoffs last year after a 15-2 season, in which they failed in the NFC Divisional Round against the Washington Commanders. But now they look to bounce back, though. The Bears, Caleb Williams' resurgence, or actually surgence instead, not resurgence, but he had a very good sophomore season, led them to the 2 seed, lost to the Rams in the Divisional Round, and now they look to take the next step up the standings into the playoffs and into the NFC Championship game or Super Bowl next year. Then you have the Philadelphia Eagles in the NFC East. Mekhi Lemon replacing A.J. Brown at wide receiver number 1 or 2, I guess. I guess Mekhi Lemon is wide receiver 2 now behind Devontae Smith. Jalen Hurts looking for a 2nd Super Bowl, 3rd Super Bowl appearance in the last 5 years. They had the 3rd highest NFC odds at plus 820, a Super Bowl odd at plus 1600 behind Seattle and LA Rams. The NFC preseason predictions for me are number 1, obviously, the LA Rams, Myles Garrett, Matthew Stafford, Puka, Devontae Adams, the entire stacked roster. And speaking of the LA, the Dodgers, if the Dodgers win the World Series maybe, then the Rams can also win the World Series. 2 stacked rosters, both in Hollywood, looking to claim another title. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the NFC South, probably the worst division in football, you can at least say. Baker had an offseason, and the Buccaneers had an offseason. They were supposed to win the division last year, choked it against the Panthers. That abysmal 8-9 record. The Panthers somehow still almost beat the Rams, though. But Tampa Bay would definitely get that 4 seed. Seattle in the 5 seed. The defending champions, Super Bowl champions. Sam Darnold still playing up to par. JSN still playing up to par. The defense still looking good. Tampa, Seattle in the first round. Philadelphia, San Francisco, a rematch. The Eagles versus 49ers. Eagles 3, 49ers 6. A rematch from last year's playoff wild card game. Then you have Detroit for the number 2 seed. I see them to bounce back from last year, and I hear the Packers or Bears in 7 seed. So for the playoff predictions for the NFC, first of all, Tampa Bay, Seattle. Gave me Seattle easily. Might be a close game, but Seattle's still going to prevail. Philadelphia, San Francisco. Gave me San Fran. They're going to get revenge. The last time they faced off in a very intense matchup. Philadelphia's not going to get revenge from last year's playoff. So San Fran to the next round. Detroit or Green Bay / Chicago. This can go either way. I'm going to give Detroit the edge against the Green Bay Packers. So Chicago's going to miss the playoffs after a big year from last year from Caleb Williams and the team. Next round, LA, Seattle, a rematch from last year's NFC Championship game. Give me LA Rams, cruising to victory in a close tense matchup. San Fran, Detroit, a rematch from the NFC Championship game not too long ago. San Fran prevails in this one. San Fran, LA, a rematch from the NFC Championship in which the Rams won the Super Bowl in Super Bowl 56 in 2021. Give me the LA Rams advance to the Super Bowl for the second time in 6 years and another time in their own stadium. Then we move to AFC. The Bills and Ravens, Buffalo and Baltimore face off for the number 1 seed, basically. They look to get over the hump, made their first AFC championship, and then win their first ever Super Bowl appearance, for either Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen. They both have plus 1,000 odds to win the Super Bowl. There's a slight edge to Baltimore in terms of AFC Championship odds, but I do think that Buffalo will edge them out in the playoffs. Just a spoiler alert. DJ Moore does help out Josh Allen a lot, as he comprised the wide receiver report that he never had in a long time since Stephon Diggs left. Then you got Baltimore, Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, the best quarterback-running back duo in terms of running game at least. Then the New England Patriots also fighting for that AFC East crown in the AFC Championship. They lost the Super Bowl to the Seahawks last year. Drake May with a superb season last year. A.J. Brown comes in to bring some more support. They have a lot tougher schedule. They play Week 1 Seattle Seahawks. They play Chicago, Green Bay, Detroit, and the rest of the NFC North ones at least. An entire AFC West with like LA Chargers, Denver Broncos, Kansas City Chiefs. That's at least plus Buffalo too. At least like 10 Hurricanes probably. They're probably gonna go like 11-6, maybe like 10-7. They're probably gonna see in the playoffs, so I think so. The AFC West, Denver, Kansas City, and LA. The Chiefs look back to bounce back from a bad year last year. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, congratulations on getting married to Taylor Swift. But Patrick Mahomes looks to bounce back from that injury last year, in which he sustained late in the season. Fernando Mendoza and the Las Vegas Raiders, the first overall pick from last year's NFL draft, looks to make a big impact and leap into his first ever starts. It may come later in the season as Kirk Cousins did come in to replace him as a starter for the Week 1, but Mendoza can step in anytime he wants to, or anytime they want to him, and he can probably succeed under the guidance of Kirk Cousins. Denver acquired Jalen Waddle in a trade that gives more support for Bo Nix in terms of receiving room. And the Chargers have to break out eventually with Justin Herbert. And the Chiefs, you can never doubt them. So in terms of playoff predictions for the AFC side, I got Baltimore Ravens, number 1 seed, Houston and LA Chargers. The Texans versus Chargers, 4v5. A rematch from 2024-2025, where the Texans won against the Chargers. And we lost to, that was the year that the Eagles won, just in case you didn't know that. The Chiefs and Patriots for 3 and 6 seed. The Bills and either Denver or Cincinnati Bengals for the 7 seed. So first off, Texans, Chargers, give the Texans. The Chargers always choke, so giving the Texans. The Texans always actually somehow make a run to the divisional round every single year, basically. I don't know how they do that. KC, New England Patriots. The Chiefs, I think the Kansas City Chiefs are going to pull this off one. It's a battle of dynasties, basically. Tom Brady's Patriots with Drake May under center now versus Patty Mahomes. In terms of this, given the Chiefs, they've always been the better clutch team. You saw in the Super Bowl last year, Drake May struggled against an actual defense. Buffalo Bills, Denver, Cincinnati. Give me Denver over Cincinnati for that 7 seed. Buffalo over Denver. They played off last year in a very tight matchup, but DJ Moore does bring a lot more promise to Buffalo in that close sense matchup they had last year, so give me Buffalo in this rematch. First off, Baltimore-Houston, give me Baltimore. They faced off last year, and Baltimore won. No, they didn't face off. It was a couple of years ago. Yeah, a couple of years ago they faced off, and Baltimore won, so give me Baltimore to the AFC Championship. Then you have the the Chiefs. Then you have Kansas City Chiefs versus the Buffalo Bills in the next round of the divisional round. Probably the biggest rivalry in all of football. Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. Josh Allen will break out sometime. I think Mahomes loses just barely. Give me Josh Allen finally getting over the hump, playing Lamar Jackson in the AFC Championship. Baltimore, Buffalo, like I said before, Buffalo wins this in tight fashion. So Buffalo Bills, the 2 seed from the AFC. LA Rams, the 1 seed from the NFC. Super Bowl 61 in LA, Hollywood. On the brightest lights, give me LA and comfortable when I say maybe like 2 scores, 1 score, 10 points, but LA for the Super Bowl, and give me Matthew Stafford for MVP. In that case, Matthew Stafford has 2 MVPs. Has 2 Super Bowls. And Myles Garrett has a Super Bowl now. Trent McDuffie has 3 Super Bowls. In that case, the LA Rams will win the Super Bowl this year, according to my predictions. So thank you for listening to Play, Pause, Repeat, and make sure to follow everywhere. Thank you for listening to today's Play, Pause, Repeat episode. As always, I'm your host, Brayden Shea. This episode was an edition of Sportstalk in the month of August, talking about the MLB Tradeline Drama as they head into the postseason, the NFL playoffs, the NFL season, offseason, as they head into the regular season starting in September, and then closing out with my intro and outro. Thank you for listening to today's episode, and as always, share, listen, and follow Play, Pause, Repeat on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and Instagram.